All right, bro, let's get to the bottom of this. There's been a lot of discussion lately about NBA offenses and how they're getting too out of hand. We're seeing scoring records be broken left and right, both from a team perspective and from an individual perspective. And we got basketball savant, Ball Don't Stop, who had this take to say on the timeline. I hate to say this, but analytics influence and these soft rules have really hurt the NBA regular season product. So let's see what he has to say.
You know, I love the NBA. I love basketball.
I love the NBA too, man.
I love where the game is at talent-wise. These players are incredible. However, there's two things that are really hurting the NBA product right now. The ratings are showing it. The fan reaction is showing it. And the everyday casual watcher, not the trolls and the bots in these comments who are scared to show their face. I'm talking about the everyday, here and there watcher, right? And the old school basketball fan, they've tuned out in a way. And I'll tell you why. The biggest thing, analytics. These geeks came in 2015. They thought they did some revolutionary thing when they said threes are worth more than twos. When the game got obsessed and these front offices got obsessed with spacing the floor, they took away, and the other thing is the rules. The rules are completely pussified. It's so soft and loosened up.
Pussified is a crazy term, man. The way he said it too, I know that's not the first time he said that, bro.
Offensive players are at full power, right? That's why the 70s, 80s are going to keep happening. These guys are too good to where if you space them out, put them on an island through the analytics, then the fucking defensive player can't even touch them. You can't get in their shit, wearing them down for the course of a game. You can't even guide them, right? There's a no-touch rule. So that, and then look what happened, right? You lost, with all this that has happened, you've lost the low post game for the first time in the history of the game. There's no real low post players outside of 3 or 4 guys. The mid-range game is reserved for superstars because that's what the data says is right. There's no half-court execution and running sets, in the mid-range for post players. It's all to get open three, right? On top of that, you lost the night-to-night possession-to-possession intensity because defensive players are disabled.
W merch. Long live the MIDI. Pure hooper. The game is about buckets. hey, he is on brand, man. I will say that. Shout out to Ball Don't Stop because he knows his target audience, and boy, is he speaking to them. He is speaking to them. Since we're talking about high-powered offenses today, I do want to make some picks on the sponsors of this video, Prize Picks. My favorite way to play daily fantasy sports. Let's go ahead and go on their website. They also got an app as well if you want to download that. Let's go ahead and go to NBA. Since we're basketball heads, let's go to PRA, man. Points, rebounds, and assists. Who's a high-powered offense dude, man? James Harden? I can see 25, 7, and 5 from James Harden tonight, man. Easy. Kevin Durant's going up against Atlanta today. 26 points. I don't know, man. That's a bad defense. I'm going to go ahead and click the more on that as well, man. Let's put it 8 to get 24. Shout out to Kobe. Let's go ahead and place that entry right there, and boom, that is how you make an entry on Prize Picks. And thanks to our friends over at Prize Picks, if you guys want to use code SLZ, you guys can get 100% match on your first deposit of up to $100. So if you put in 20, they'll give you 20. Now you got $40 to work with. If you put in the 100, they'll give you 100, and now you got $200 to work with. With that being said, links will be in the description for that, and shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring this video. A lot to unpack with this conversation, right? And for me, in my opinion on the matter, I think Ball Don't Stop I think he's tripping. I think he's tripping. I think he's tripping. I think this is a conversation about evolution more so than anything. I think this is a conversation about optimization and the pros and cons of optimization more than anything. And I get it. I get where people are coming from because basketball is not the only industry suffering from this. I think another industry that is completely suffering from this is the entertainment industry, more specifically cinema. People figured out the formula. People figured out the formula as to what sells. People figured out the formula as to what isn't or is gonna work in the box office. And you've seen those conversations as well within the film community, within the cinema community. Because these studios know what is going to hit. Because we are in a generation that doesn't allow for as much experimentation as, the 2000s, the 90s. What you see nowadays is repeated IPs, overutilized IPs, And for lack of a better term, specifically in the action movie scene, the same movie over and over again. So with basketball, I feel like the criticism is the same. Every single fucking night, all these teams play the goddamn same. So I see where he's coming from. The game in the 2000s, the game in the 90s was like perfectly imperfect, you know, because evolution did not catch up, because there were flaws in the game. It allowed for certain things to happen. It allowed for certain specialists that, to be honest with you, probably would not exist in today's game to exist in the game back then. You're not gonna see a pure rebounder in the league, bro. Like Andre Drummond, the closest thing to like a pure rebounder in the league, like a Dennis Rodman type of player in the league, is Andre Drummond. I understand the defensive capabilities is different. There definitely are players in the league that are just as versatile defensively as Dennis Rodman. But long story short, even just a pure sharpshooter, who can just shoot and cannot cut to the basket, cannot dribble whatsoever. Bro, that was Duncan Robinson 3 years ago. He got phased out real quick until he decided to be much better off ball, not just from the outside, but being able to cut to the basket, being able to backdoor cut. Hell, in the playoffs, I seen him handling the ball a little bit. He got phased out until he ever evolved his game. The archetype of the point guard who can just pass but cannot shoot, the Rajon Rondos of the world. Rajon Rondo, excuse me, however you want to say it. I don't think that version of Rondo could exist in today's league. And I don't think if Rondo grew up in today's era, he would even develop to be that player. So, I get it. The pure low post big, the closest thing to that right now is what? Zubac? Like, so I see where Bottom Stop is coming from. But ultimately, I disagree in terms of it's hurting the NBA regular season product, because what do you want teams to do? Right? What do you want teams to do? I think this is a product of, for so many years, people did not know how to properly optimize NBA basketball offenses. So over time, through little changes, right? Honestly, it started with honestly Jordan figuring out, and those Bulls teams figuring out how to win with a lead guard, with a lead shooting guard over and over and over again. And then that evolved into better spacing from the big man position with guys like Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, and KG coming into the league. And then that evolved into, hey, let's run Chris Bosh. Let's run those fours at the 5 and run a motherfucker like LeBron James at the 4. And then that evolved into, let's go back to the guard position. We can get better the shooting from the guard position. It can get better. And then that evolved into, the shooting from the big man position. It can still get better. And then that evolved into, the shooting from the guard position. It can stay the same, but let's make him 6'5". Cause like these mini changes, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Why would you want a 6-foot guard when you can have a 6'6" guard with the same skill set? Why would you rather have a 7-foot big man who's slow-footed, who cannot pass the ball, who cannot space out the floor, who cannot put the ball on the floor, when you can have that? You know? So, shout out to fan. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. So I don't blame how the NBA and why the NBA is headed in this way, right? I'll give you another analogy. Within the YouTube space, like Mr. Beast is a guy who, if there's any valid, consistent criticism with Mr. Beast, is the fact that he ruined YouTube, right? Because Mr. Beast dominated the YouTube space so fast, so quickly, and so extreme with the amount of views that he's getting, that the way he made videos became a meta. And then you saw the Mr. Beast copycats come into the game. Hell, even if you're not a Mr. Beast copycat, you saw the effects of his thumbnail style throughout the landscape of YouTube. You saw the effects of his idea of maximizing audience retention and all the tactics he used to maximize audience retention in other niches within the YouTube space. So then there's now, for those who don't know, there's this counter movement of Mr. Beast ruined YouTube because of exactly what I'm talking about. Everything seems so robotic nowadays. What happened to real film on YouTube? While I do have, you know, again, while I do see where those people are coming from, because hey, I missed the Casey Neistat days, right? I missed when low-key people didn't know how to make high-quality thumbnails, and the thumbnails are chopped and screwed, and you know what I'm saying? They were perfectly imperfect. So I get where people are coming from, but on the flip side of it, if you're on the other side of the token, what do you want me to do? Make bad thumbnails? What do you want me to do? Make bad, you know, videos with low audience retention, and now I'm not getting views? So going back to the NBA, what do you want the Celtics to do, right? Do you want the Celtics to pick up Andre Drummond and run him at the 5? Listen, Jason Tatum, in my opinion, should not be taking as much threes as he can. But do you want Jason Tatum to turn into DeMar DeRozan? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you want Drew Holiday to not take as much threes so he drives to the basket and clogs up the paint with Andre Drummond down there? Like, what do you want? What do you want to happen? You know? And maybe he does realize that that's just where the evolution of the game is. But, you know, real quick, let's just watch, bro. Let's just watch the 2007 NBA Finals. Let's just watch LeBron highlights of the 2007 NBA Finals, bro. All right, this is real quick. Check out his highlights. 16. I don't want to show too much because of copyright.
To the basket, inside, backs it in.
But
there's his first field goal.
Let's just look at the spacing. I just want to show y'all the spacing back then.
And here you see a great trip by Elgato.
I just want to show y'all the spacing back then, bro.
Incidental contact.
Mind you, this is late 2000s, so it could even be worse. Big Z, mind you, chat, for this era, this is actually spacing out the floor. Big Z was one of the few centers who could give you a midi, right? Y'all have to remember what the Lakers had with Andrew Bynum and Pau Gasol at the 4 was great spacing for that time. Running Ron Artest and Derek Fish out there, that's great spacing for that time. Watch this. LeBron is on the right wing.
Lost control.
Right? This is Drew Gooden. He cannot shoot. So he's going to stand right near the paint over here. Robert Horry right there to help because he cannot space out the floor. He cannot hit a corner 3. So Robert Horry can sit right here. If LeBron drives, Robert Horry is here to pick it up. Same thing with Big Z. Hell, if Robert Horry picks us up, Tim Duncan is right there to rotate over. And then you leave Big Z wide open, but nevertheless, that's still a 2. That's still a 2. LeBron James drives. See what I'm talking about? See what I'm talking about? Robert Horry picks up. Tim Duncan slides over. Big Z slides over. And number 3 over here is Sasha Pavlovich. He's about to be wide open. But look at this spacing. Look at this spacing. Is this how you want teams to run their offense, bro?
Spinning.
Come on! Hell, Larry Hughes wasn't even a sharpshooter like that, so Monty Ginobili felt confident enough to help off of Larry Hughes to double LeBron James over here, because even if LeBron James finds Larry Hughes, hell, let's go back to the 2007 season. Larry Hughes, please don't prove me wrong. Please don't prove me wrong. Larry Hughes in 2007 was still a 33% shooter from 3, which for today's league is below league average.
Double team. Gooden again.
See what I'm talking about, bro? let's run another play. Let's go above here. Let's go right here. Let's go right here. Okay. Let's see. Pick and roll. Pick and roll with was that Drew Gooden? LeBron James, same side of the court. I don't even know who this is. This might be Tim Duncan. I'm pretty sure this is Tim Duncan. We got Varejao out there, Pavlovich, and Boobie Gibson. All right. Once again, Drew Gooden cannot shoot, so he has to stay in this low block over here, right? Anderson Varejao is not going to pop. Is not going to pop. LeBron James, for this time, he couldn't shoot as well. So Tim Duncan, reading this pick and roll, it's easy. Go under. Not go under, but just stay back here. There's no reason to step up. Literally, there's no reason to step up. There's no reason to step up. All right.
James fires away.
Okay, he drained it. He drained it. But again, same concept still stands. That might have been a bad example, but same concept still stands, bro. The spacing back then was bad. The spacing back then was bad. This was bad offense. All of this was bad offense. Not necessarily bad. Okay, let me not say that. I wouldn't say it's bad offense. It's just it could be better offense. I don't know, because again back then there were still these conceptions that you cannot win as a 3-point shooting team. Again, chat, that sounds crazy. That sounds crazy right now for me to say that. But prior to the Warriors winning in 2015, even after the San Antonio Spurs won with historic 3-point shooting, there was still the notion that you cannot win as a 3-point shooting team. If that is your identity, to be a 3-point shooting team, you could not win an NBA championship. That is how primitive offenses were not too long ago. So, and JJ Redick has come on and said as well, bro, I'm not going to lie, man. This has nothing to do with defenses not being better. Hell, I would even argue that rules favor defensive players more than ever nowadays. But the offenses have just gotten, this is just naturally where it was headed in. And I agree. I've said this take multiple times on multiple platforms at this point, but I'm sorry to tell you, the 90s, the 2000s, and the first half of the 2010s, historically speaking, even though that is what I grew up in, that is what a majority of the people talking on social media, a majority of the pundits that you see having a podcast grew up in and played in. I'm sorry to tell you, but that is the outlier throughout basketball history. Throughout basketball history, pace was high. Throughout basketball history, it was more of an up and down game. Throughout basketball history, 90s and 2000s and mid-2010s basketball is the outlier. It just is. And to illustrate the point, NBA league averages, this motherfucker said I don't use stats in these videos just because they're one pump chump recordings. Let's look at pace. Let's look at pace. Right? They didn't have statistics for pace in the 60s, but even listen, bro. Just literally watch a 60s game. Look at those statistics. And there's also articles written about it. The pace back then was high as shit, okay? It was high as shit. We go into the 70s. The pace of the game is above 100. Go into the 80s. The pace of the game is above 100. Now, mind you, this is also when Michael Jordan was able to average 36, 37 points a game, right? You know what I'm saying? And multiple players were able to average those statistics. John Stockton was able to average, I don't know, like 15 assists a game, some crazy shit. So numbers have been inflated before. I don't know what to tell you, especially with 60s, 70s, and 80s ball. Numbers have been inflated. So yeah, high pace era right here, high pace era right here. Slows down a little bit, but still, again, above 100. It really slows down in the 90s. From 89 to 92, the game slows down by like 4 possessions a game. By 99, the game is slowed down to the slowest pace it's ever been, from 100 all the way down by 12 to 88, 89. It stays around this pace in the low 90s up until, again, to be honest with you, 2016. Even in 2015 when the Warriors won, it was still in the low 90s. And then from 2016 and on, oh my bad, y'all aren't seeing the numbers, it has gone back up to the hundreds. What has changed, though, is, I think, effective field goal percentage being higher. Yeah, effective field goal percentage now is at 55%. For a majority of NBA history, it's hovered around 50. In the 2000s, it was closer to 47. In the 70s, with the high pace, effective field goal percentage was low as shit. So essentially what we've had over, what we're seeing right now is pace going back to normality, if anything, historically speaking. But efficiency being the highest it's ever been, right? So when you combine high pace and high efficiency, that's how you get high scoring games. Is that fortunate, unfortunate? I guess that's where the debate is, but truly, I don't see a problem with it. You run a team, what would you do? That being said, I'm going to catch y'all on the next one, man. Peace.